Well, here we are, week 7 Scrap Masters, and I am super excited to see what the dice and spinner brings for us this week. Aren't you? Ready? Let's get started. And welcome back to So Well with yours truly, Rob Appell. I am so blessed to see all of you out there. And yes, it is week 7 of Scrap Masters, our Friday show where we randomly generate a quilt block using this amazing free pattern available to all of you for free over at www.robappell.com. Thank you again, like I said, for being here. If it is Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, and you're watching, please consider chatting along with us. I am super excited to see you all. Our theme for the week is restocking, right? I mentioned last week we had talked about it. I don't know if you already noticed the golden tray of treasure has really been restocked, and that's been awesome because I just got back from a great trip down to the San Fernando Valley Quilters. Great to see all of you ladies and gentlemen. That's right, I hung out with Paul Newman, folks. Well, yeah, Paul Newman, the retired, congratulations again, brother, school teacher. He didn't quite look like the guy on the dressing or the cookies, but that's all right. He's a great gentleman and a fantastic quilt maker, and he had the coolest featherweight. I don't believe I got photos. I apologize. But nonetheless, so yeah, I had a great time while I was down there, but they were hosting their workshops right next to it, a super cool location called Quilting for Community. And this location is a nonprofit, and they are reselling used fabrics at a super discount, which so I think I went and hit the $10 bin. Oh, so we've got scraps by the pound, we've got quilt tops, we've got batiks by the pound, we've got all kinds of great yardage. And over here, I think it's also weighed. So we're gonna see what I can do on this color wall real quick. I'm officially in Chatsworth, California, San Fernando Valley, and I'm just doing a really cool workshop, and this is like a fabric thrift store that helps support this really cool community sewing classroom where it's really awesome. And the concept is to try to provide a discount sewing experience for folks in the community. So they have machines and sergers and all kinds of great cutting space and everything, and it's really cool. So after workshop today, yeah, I'm gonna sneak into the Fabric Depot and load up on scraps for the Scrap Masters. We'll see how this goes. Oh yeah, for about the price of a yard of fabric, I got all of that. And now I'm gonna go cut it up into 3-inch squares and see if we can integrate it back into our quilts. All right, quick palette check. There's our Scrap Masters Series 2 in the background. So that's all the colors I've been working with. That should be great. That's gonna be an interesting one right there. And now we've got the workshop just about wrapping up from our Super 60 samplers. And all of these folks have worked so hard today. Oh, it was awesome. And then I brought a bunch of it home and I sliced it down into 3-inch strips and then 3-inch squares. And then you can see that I took the time to unpack everything and really tidy up. So I'm really excited to make today's block with all of you. So thank you again, like I said, for being here. We are gonna get started. And as I guess, I wanna talk a ton about the new fabrics, but I don't know exactly what to say, especially just this week, because what I want you to understand is I'm constantly integrating new fabrics, and therefore I'm using them in new blocks for weeks and weeks to come. That way, when we see the quilt, because of the way that the colors are randomly generated, we're not going to get clusters of any one fabric so that it looks, and it is very scrappy. We may have several fabrics in here now that I'm down to 1 or 2 pieces, and others that I have tons and tons of as the stacks, but we'll eventually balance them all out and restock again. So this is part of what I've learned as a scrap master, is not every leftover piece of fabric is a scrap for the same scrap quilt. So with that being said, oh, and if you want to participate at home without me, feel free to pick up your own color wheel and dice spinner set over at robappell.com. That's one of the ways I fund my lifestyle and this wonderful YouTube channel. So thank you again for all that support. Check out the Scrap Masters shirts. And boy, I sound like an advertiser today. So let's just go ahead and roll and spin our way to some sewing fun here. What block number are we gonna call it? Oh, that's right. I forgot to tell the newbies, there are actually 12 different blocks in the free download pattern, what I needed you to do is number your favorite 6, 1 through 6. So this is the one I'm sewing on. I'm sewing through all 12 in the first 12 weeks so that you all can see the way the blocks are constructed. So therefore, this will be my block, and what number shall I call it today? Oh, we got a misser. I jumped in it. Oh, 4. I like that. Number 4. Number 4. The microphone probably didn't like it, but I liked it. Okay, so number 4 will be what we are all sewing today. This is block number 4 for me. What color shall we make it? It's a bit of a whiner. It's leaning towards the blue violet, and because I've restocked so heavily on the blue violet, dynamite, right? Okay, well, how many different fabrics, not colors, different fabrics will I be able to use today? And I'm kind of hoping it's a bigger number because I've got so many different new pieces to use. So, okay, block 4, blue violet, and 10. I feel like we just did 10, but that's okay. It's not a big number. It's not a small number. It's the perfect medium number because we had 20 to choose from. So block 4, 10 different fabrics, blue violet. Let's get ourselves started here. First off, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose from the blue violets. And I've kind of stashed them all over here in a different fun way, and kind of the red violets over here. So, and this one's kind of a cheater. It kind of goes both ways. So this one I'm going to call 1 today. I like this for 2 fabrics. 3, 4. See what we can just do with those 4. We're going to need to call our background 5, or I can cheat and not count it because there are really no rules in scrap mastering, right? As long as our fabrics look good together. But right now we're going to call that 5. And then I keep leaning so far into the green families or the orange families with this. Let's today see what we can do with this emerald family against it. Just going to be so pretty here. Yep. Maybe the splash of our lime green. Let's see what happens if we bring all of this together visually. What do you all think? Yeah, let me know in the comments below. I think that's going to be pretty terrific. But as I do this, I almost feel like it has more power without. That's what it was. That darker, deeper was too much. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We'll call it 11. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're going to take our patterns, whatever patterns you're working on, and check down below and look at your chart. And I like to pair up my half square triangles first, and I need to name my fabric grouping. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call my background fabric. This is going to be my white. These blue greens are going to be the gray family as seen on the pattern, and these purples or blue violets are going to be what I'm calling the darks on the pattern. So that should be really fun to work with. So as I go here, I need 8 of these, and with these 3-inch squares, I'm going to yield 4 at a time. And so this will be my white and my gray. So I'm going to choose 1 and 2 and 3 to kind of get this whole spectrum of color through here, like this. To pair those up, right sides together with our gray family, and 4 with 3-inch squares will yield 8, trimmed down to 2.5. Set those aside. Now we need to make 8 more with our white and our black family. So here's 1 and 2. So I had cut down some 3-inch, but I also have some 2.5-inch. So I'm just going to be pulling from the bottom of the pile. That's what's going on there with all of these. There we go. Match those up as well. My white fabrics. I'm using a common background, but of course, as you've seen, you can go all scrappy and use all different fabrics. So you would be working from your white families against your black families right now. Setting those aside as well. And now we're going to need 4 from our black and our gray family. So this is where I didn't use this one yet. And I didn't use this against this. So this is what's going to make some real fun pop. And high contrast and energy says, do those two together to me. And these two together. And that'll prepare us to make all of our half square triangles. Let's go ahead and finish out our units count while we're here. I'm gonna need 12 from the white family, and I've got those pre-made because I also made strips when cutting down all of my background over here. Okay, so I'm gonna need 4 from the gray family here, and I had these two lovelies I wanna sneak in, and so let's go ahead and pull 2 more that are more on the opposite blue-green side, and I'm gonna stack them here off of one clean corner. And I don't have any from the black family to make, so it looks like I just have 2 to really trim again right now. So the way that's done is I'm gonna go ahead and take my wonderful ruler here, and I'm just gonna set it at the 2.5 mark. Cut this down, and I'm gonna set it back in and stay organized at the ironing board as we get ready to make those half square triangles. I'm gonna move my machine's edge guide out of the way now because I'm just gonna go using my eyeball following my diagonal seam tape. Many of you will be drawing a diagonal line across center, like you see here, and then just do a 1/4 inch or a scant 1/4 inch next to it. We want to be able to trim these down as we go. So if I'm doing this, I'm going to use my foot to follow, which is a little bit narrower than a 1/4. And I'll cut on that line later. I'm going to drop my needle down so I can continue to chain piece these. And then similarly, I will just go ahead and eyeball corner to corner following the black corner there, or the black line on the corner. So once I've gone down one side of all of those, I'm just gonna rotate and then follow the other edge down. A little even easier to see now that I'm watching the thread from the first row of stitching. Another trick for me is I've been always putting the same fabric down, this common neutral fabric down or up when I'm stitching so that I know which fabric I should be looking at in case I was confused by which side of the thread to be on here. And then back again, I'd also be on that line as you see. So they're all stitched together. I use the little thread cutter on my machine. I love this trick. And I'm going to separate now the squares from each other, and then we're going to go ahead and slice them apart to yield out those 2 half square triangle units. But they're rough. We're going to need to trim them down. I'll show you that. So I'll use my slotted trimmer for all of my work. I'm going to drop my straight edge on that same diagonal, then just cut across. And I actually like to do all the steps at once, so I'm going to separate them all before I trim them all. Some of you like to press before you trim because you have a different method. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you have the accuracy you like there. Let's take a moment now and clear off these parts and pieces we've been using. They're nice and organized. I'm just going to kind of set them up and out of the way, and that way if I don't have exactly what I need, I can grab real quickly. So now what we'll do, so we're going to trim down to 2.5 inches. I use the slotted trimmer, so I've got my dotted line right above the threads that created the seam, or my dotted line at the 2.5, I should say. Then I'm just going to trim edge, edge, and I dog ear the corners manually myself. I just find that's the easiest. And then I'll go to the iron. Of course, I've cut them all at that point, and I'm going to press them to the dark side. So as you're finishing up with your ironing, I'm going to strongly encourage you to, yes, go ahead and organize your parts and pieces by color families as you were seeing them on the pattern, because we're going to go ahead and get started building out our block. I find it's easiest to work from the center out on most of these because they are symmetrical. That doesn't mean that you have to have the same fabric in each and every location. Just be thinking of color family really is the best way of doing it there. So now what I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to start with the 4 in the middle that were the half square triangles from the black and gray family. And it looks like this time they're going to be blacks in. So I'll put them on opposite sides of each other. I'm going to keep them close to my sewing machine so that eventually I can do some web style chain piecing here. Now it looks like the entire thing is going to be perimetered by the white fabric families all the way around here. Now we're going to go ahead and utilize, let's start on our points if we can, and we'll use the ones that are our white and black half square triangles first, and we're going to form the rest of the arrow tips of the background or the white color fabrics. And I'm just going to make sure I'm using different fabric choices from my blue lavender family today in those spaces. Anybody notice last week that I didn't even catch, I never did until I was editing, that the center was rotated differently and the block looked pretty cool. I literally never noticed until I was editing it. Pretty funny, huh? Okay, now in these outside areas, we're also gonna build out, this is the beginning of kind of this outside 4 patch. So now we can go ahead and take and place the different colors, and you know me and my opposites. So these ones here, I'm gonna let, ooh, I see maybe this is darker, so I want a little bit of a darker line. Right now you can see there's a bit of symmetry in the color, so brighter and darker if you're reading that blue-green family, that emerald family, and the lime family. So now as I go to position these, let's see what I can do here. Here, trying to get different fabrics to touch up where I can, forming my little Enterprise blocks. They look like little SS Enterprises if you ask me. And because of the nature of what I created in advance without knowing where the parts and pieces were going to be, this is now what I have to work with. So I like what I see, and I don't know that there's any other real fabric choices I could make that would be different. Maybe I'll move this one here and here. Just so there's a little more variety in what is touching, and that looks fun. Okay, so now I'm going to lock down my 1/4 inch seam allowance. You might use a different foot or however you like doing it to help you stay consistent from block to block, from week to week. Now let's read these as columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to take the top piece of column 2, lay it over, right sides together, column 1, and I'm going to sew, no ironing until the very end now. And I'm just going to stitch all the way through, leaving my needle down, and I'll grab the next 2 pieces and work my way to the end of this column series. Once I've completed those first 2 columns there like that, I'm going to go ahead and cut my thread now, slide my fabrics down along the machine, and open them up. If I need to check my pattern, okay, outside block, it was the solid, and I see the half square triangle, so I'm in the same orientation necessary. I'll grab that upper block here. One of the tricks is if you grab your outer edge and rotate like this, then it just always lines up. And I'll begin sewing now this column 3 on top of column 2, just like before, all the way down to the bottom until we cut thread. So now that you've got the hang of that, just keep on sewing and going all the way down the line here as we begin finishing out this first series, and I'll show you the next thing to happen. So now that I've connected all of the pieces from the layout, now I'm going to take that moment, open it up, make sure I still have my center the way I need. I've got my 4 enterprises on the corner there. And then I just kind of rotate it around so I'm kind of back to the way I was looking at these columns in a new direction here. And I'm going to flip over this number 6 on top of 5. I'm going to let my fingers kind of nest the seams together, whichever way the first ones want to go. I'll press all of these, or sew all of these, I should say, in this same order. So no ironing yet till we get to the very end. So now that this seam here is on the, that I can see is pointing into my lap, I'm going to make sure that the rest of the seams in this series, this seam allowance, are going to be set in the same directions. Helps me stay organized and will help it press nice and clean later. Taking a moment just to organize each of those unions, nesting them as I go. And then at this point, I'm actually getting away from the machine so I can really make sure I'm organized and I'm not accidentally catching any of this other fabric underneath. So again, taking the time to move it, manipulate those seams a little bit with our fingers. So now the under ones were pointing down because the upper ones are pointing up. Wiggle the first ones together. Get those corners nice and sharp. I'm also learning now that I'm kind of giving a little pull each union as I realign each union. I'm just taking the time to kind of pull from the bottom, and I think like that really helps the fabrics nest together as if they had been pressed. So I'm not getting any extra fiber in there. Again, flopping to find that outer edge. Now that I'm ready to make the 4th seam, I'm flipping it so now I've got the bulk of the work down, so I can now flip all of this over to keep all of my pieces showing where they need to be. Just checking those each and every time as I restart with that top corner nice. Little pull, set, stitch. Pull, set, stitch. And now that everything is stitched together, it's time to press. Got my iron hot, and I'm just going to slowly work the seams in one direction as I come through, adding maybe a little bit of steam or moisture that always helps. And I just absolutely am loving this webbed chain piecing technique. I'll show you here. My points are pretty clean, especially for a carefree quilter. Super organized, easy to sew through, easy to teach from. Look at this, folks. Isn't that great? So I'm really excited. There is, of course, our block number 4 for the week. Blue Violet was my color, and 10 fabrics is what I used. I might have cheated up to 11 using that background, but don't forget there is one and only one rule here at Scrap Masters, and that is there is no rules. Although I do hope you are taking good care of yourself, both sewing wise and wellness wise, finding something awesome to sew on when you don't know what to sew on. And again, I just want to thank you for being here with me this day and all of the support you provided over the last several months. I so appreciate it. I've had a blast on the road. If you'd like me to come to your quilt guild or your quilt shop, please drop me an email, rob@robappell.com. Don't forget to subscribe here to the channel. Don't forget to restock your wardrobe and your sewing room over at robappell.com. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. Make sure you're doing something creative this weekend or whatever day it is. Until then, stay well.